Okay, welcome everybody. This is going to be part 2 of our mnemonic memory process training for total newbies, total beginners, so they can start to get a very detailed understanding of how their memory is connected to their vagus nerve. This is advanced level work, but I feel like it's time to share this kind of stuff, okay? This is the kind of work that we do primarily in a phase 2 type of program after we've run through a phase 1 program of vagus nerve stimulation, okay? So this is advanced level work, so fair warning, if it goes over your head, that's okay. But I also want you to treat this as a diagnostic. If we're doing a memory test and you are recognizing that your memory is totally crap, if your memory is just like not adequate to remember 10 specific random items on a list, then that is a really good indication that vagus nerve stimulation is something that is not happening in your life. I could guarantee you, I would bet money that if you are not able to hold up your end of the bargain in terms of like remembering what I'm going to present to you, then that's a big indication that as a diagnostic test of your vagal function, that something is potentially very wrong, and that would be in the level of your neurotransmitter acetylcholine, your cholinergic signaling system, and a cognitive process. There may be some brain-related issues that are not functioning, and that would help explain why your vagus nerve isn't working, why you're constantly in fight or flight. So this is a really important video. So I really want to just reiterate that I want you to stick around. This is going to be good for you. Don't go on TikTok. Turn off all of your tabs. Be focused here right now. This is going to change your life, okay? Great. So we're going to refresh what we did before in what's called Final Cut, and we're going to be doing a refresher of the first 10 items on the PEG list, okay? I think I copied and pasted it before. I'm going to go copy and paste the list in the chat here on Facebook. And so just let me go and grab that right now. One moment. And if you have the notes written from last time, you should have the 10 pegs listed already in front of you. You should have that available and all that kind of stuff. So I got to go grab... I want to go grab these specific notes. Here we go. Great. Okay, so I'm going to paste the list of the 10 that we're going to go over. I want you to visually remember each one of these. When I say, I'm going to say number 1 is a tie that you wear around your neck, okay? And I'm going to give you the phonetic root, ta, t, tie, 1, ta, tie. And I want you to look at this video, and anytime you hear the number 1, the first thing that you're going to say is 1. You're going to look up to the area of your memory with your eyes. Remember, we talked about the basic process about shifting your eyes and accessing your vagus nerve or your sympathetic. Your eyes are also a key segue or pathway into your memory. You'll often notice when people are trying to recall information, they'll look up to one side. You're going to have a natural thing of recalling visual information and auditory information. So, number 1, ta, tie. And these are all videos I'm going to play here in a second. Here is the list written out. So, of all of the numbers, what you can do is you can copy paste this into your computer. And when the YouTube video is uploaded, the numbers will also be included in that as well. And again, if you want to go back and watch part 1 of this video, that link will be provided additionally. I'm going to put that here in the chat as well. So for those who are, here's the thing. I'm doing this because I'm not looking for like in and out quickies. I'm not looking for a one night stand kind of relationship with anybody. I'm really looking for real good lasting partnerships with people who are really on the train that their vagus nerve health is really important. And so this is advanced work, I will admit that, but we have clients here who are already in our phase 1 and phase 2 program, so this is really to serve them and to also give people a glimpse of what could be possible with your health and with your vagus nerve. It's very fun work, okay? So if you are way more interested in watching dumb content on TikTok, please click off of this video. You will be sorely disappointed. This is not going to be, a compilation of fun, dumb America's Home videos kind of thing. This is advanced stuff. All right. So now I'm going to play the video, and you're going to listen to my voice, look at the screen. You don't need to look at me, but look at the video, and I want you to make a really clear visual impression, an engram, in your mind's eye of what the item and the peg word is. The reason this is important for you right now is that after I review the 10-point list, I'm going to read out a completely separate list of items, 10 different items. And I'm going to want you to take something like, let's say the next step. I'm going to say number 1, tie. The item you're going to associate with a tie is a horse, okay? And then what you're going to do in your mind's eye is see a horse, a big horse like Mr. Ed with those big teeth, literally with his hooves, wrapping a tie around his neck and tying it on tight with as much action and color, and you want to see it as big and clear, like you're wearing a pair of virtual reality goggles. It wants to be as big as possible. And then in the future, after that second step, the third step will be, I will have you no longer look at the list, and you're going to just, in your memory, I'm going to say, what was number 1? And you're going to say 1, tie. And then you're going to say, what was interacting with the tie when I was remembering the list? And you should see, because depending on how well your vagus nerve works, you should be presented by default with the image that you created in the combination in the mnemonic process. And you should see, again, that Mr. Ed horse putting that tie in his neck, and you're going to go, oh, number 1 was a horse. Okay, the number that I was supposed to, or the item I was supposed to remember was a horse. Okay, you guys follow? Type a 3 in the chat if that makes sense. I don't know how much more clear I could really make that. It's very, very straightforward. And this is a diagnostic test. This is an advanced diagnostic test to literally determine if your vagus nerve is even connecting to your cortex. There is a level at your vagus nerve at the C1 where your atlas bone is, where your vagus nerve, if it's pinched, you will develop, guess what? Memory retention issues, okay? This is advanced diagnostics. Okay, we got a 3, and a 3. Awesome. So some of you are with me. I hope everybody else watching, I can see more people watching than are typing, that you are at least nodding your head or doing something where you can't type 3 in. But that is what this is. So we're going to do, it's a 3-stage process today. We're going to review the list, and I want you to just visually see it. Anybody can pick this up. I work with clients who are 66 years old. They think they have terrible memories, and when they learn this process, they're like blown away. They can remember all 10 of the items I give them on the very first day, okay? So I really believe in each and every one of you that you're going to be able to do this. Give yourself the gift of trying it at least, okay? Try it out. Don't give up before you've even given it a shot, okay? I would say that's a poor system to adopt in your life, is to give up by thinking you're not able to do it when an expert is telling you that you can do it. Yeah, so we got another 3 in the chat. Awesome. We have another comment. You changed the tie with a horse. Perfect. Yes, you're interacting the tie with a horse. And just so you know, the core peg list that is 1 tie is never going to change. You are never going to erase tie from your peg list, okay? Tie is always there. The thing that you peg, you peg onto number 1 is going to be changing, okay? So I'm saying maybe it's a horse today, but maybe next Friday we'll do a part 3 to this video, and we'll expand. We'll do a completely different 10-item list. And so maybe next week we'll say number 1 tie. The item you want to associate with that is going to be a dollar bill. Okay, so you're going to see a big, huge dollar bill. The more animated, the more comedic, the more funny it looks, the more like action it is. I want you to see a big, dollar bill like that's human with a face, with arms, wrapping a tie around it and cinching it shut and literally crinkling it. You can hear the sound of crinkling of a dollar bill. And so then when I do the review and I say, what was number 1 in next week, you're not going to say horse because that would not be right. It would be that week, you're going to say, okay, 1 tie. I'm associated with what comes up in my memory. My cholinergic vagal pathway is giving me the indication of a dollar bill. And then you would say dollar bill, and I would say, you got it. Yeah, that's right. Okay? So that's how it works. Super, super simple. Yeah, so tie is always there, and the item we're pegging is going to vary based on the session. Okay, got it? So horse is one example, but you're going to be able to interchange that, right? So position 1 is always tie, and the thing we put into it is going to change. No, was it? Maybe? Yeah, maybe you got that. I think I might have given you an example of actually 100, which was daisies, which was horse. So you're close. Horse was used last week, but it was for the number 100. I may have given that as an example too. So okay, so let's review the 10-point core peg list, and I'm going to paste that again just one more time, so it's really up to date on the chat, because Facebook loves to hide comments as they are going. Okay, so there's the list written out, and we're going to play the video now, and you're going to follow along. Okay, so let me just get this set up on my end so I can see it very clearly. Okay. All right. So number 1, tie. 1, tie. Okay. 1, tie. That is the core number 1. Next item, 2, Noah. Mnemonic, is Noah. 2, Noah. See this image, see it visually. You want to replay this like a movie in your mind whenever I say 2. 3, mow, lawnmower, cutting grass. There's a lot of action, cutting, spraying all over the place. 3, mow. That is the core peg for number 3. Get that. Next one, 4, row, rowing a boat. Okay? See this like a movie. Get it clear in your mind. See this super clear. See all the colors, all the action, all the movement. You can interact with this with an item later. Next, 5, law. Comedic cop running in place or forward towards something or resting something. 5, law. You have the list written out here on Facebook, so you can go and see that too, but it's 5, law. Next, 6, joy, dish detergent. It's the soap, the yellow soap that you pour out, and it gets soapy and sudsy, and you can make something soapy. You can wash something. 6, joy. Next, 7, key is a key in a lock. It's silver, it's stainless steel, it's cold, it's hard, it makes the noise. 7, key. You can see a key sticking into something in the future. Next, 8, fee. Bills, whatever, receipts, looking at this kind of stuff, seeing the thing being shocked by what the bill is. Okay, 8, fee. Great. Next, 9, pie. See a nice, juicy, fresh cooked pie that's being cut open. Tons of opportunity to interact gooey, creamy pie with some kind of whatever. Okay, 9, pie. Last one, 10, toes. 2 numbers, and 1, 0, toes. There are 10 toes for most people. 10 toes, little baby toes. You can interact with that with something in the future. Great, stopping. Okay, so I'm just going to list it back here on number 1. And we're going to go back here. Great. So did everybody follow that? I hope it looks like the video didn't drop or anything like that. Type a 4 in the comment if you were able to follow along and see that and kind of start to get the core concepts that we are mapping out specific keywords for you to have in your mind forever. This core list that I listed is never going to change. I want you to always remember it. I want you to always review it. And you're going to see that when you're in a stressful moment and you need to engage your parasympathetic system, here's what you're going to be able to do too as a bonus is you're going to say out loud in or under your breath or just in your head, you're going to just go through the list without even having to say the numbers. You're going to just go tie, Noah, mow, row, la, joy, key, fee, pie, toes. Tie, Noah, mow, row, la, joy, key, fee, pie, toes. And so by doing that, you're engaging these cholinergic acetylcholine pathways that directly innervate your vagus nerve. and you're going to be accessing different organ-specific processes through your memory. Now, the reason this is also important is because in phase 2, we take this concept and we utilize it to literally reprogram your immunological memory. So when you have an infection, when you had your first infection, baby's first infection, your brain created a memory, a connection between how you responded to it and the situation. And so your brain in the future, when it gets even just a small infection, will mount the exact same full response, and that's where autoimmune conditions develop. So in our phase 2 training, we take this model, we expand it out to 50 of these PEG words, and even then at the end of the full 8 months to 100, and we start mapping immunological functions. Just like we would say, what's a function of the vagus nerve? Is when you feel like when you feel hungry. Hunger is a sensation that is the vagus nerve related. When you feel thirsty, when you feel irritation in your throat, when you feel happy, when you feel like you need to hiccup, these are mapping functions of the vagus nerve. Now phase 2 is mapping functions in the mind with clear visual pathways. And there's a really incredible process we've rolled out in phase 2 to actually start connecting your immunological function. And so this could potentially be a cure for autoimmune conditions that requires zero technology. That is literally like the preeminent treatment for trauma-induced autoimmune dysfunction. Do you guys hear that? Trauma-induced autoimmune dysfunction is a treatment option that requires no pills, no surgeries, not even devices. As much as I love using ultrasound vagus nerve stimulation to treat these kinds of things, which is, pretty incredible, but we're trying to develop more advanced ways that anybody could do, that even if you're the most reactive person, you still have a memory. You can still reprogram these things. It's really incredible. Okay? Got it. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to set into these items the new words. Okay? So I'm going to pull up a list, and I'm going to write it in the chat, and I'm going to give you a list of items that I want you to start associating with these PEG items. Now, I know I gave the example of, a horse, but just want you to wipe that horse out of the position, and I'm going to give you a completely fresh, new, completely unrelated list of mnemonic items. Okay? Got it? So I have a pre-written list, and I'm going to share those here for you in a second. Okay. All right. Just want to find a good list. I have a lot of these lists pre-generated, so I just want to make sure one doesn't include horse, actually, so you don't get confused. Okay. All right. So here we go. Just cleaning this up. Dun, 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 dun. And boom. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, great. All right, so I have a full list unmarked, but I'm going to put that here in the chat. AA treatment type here again, please. Sorry, what was the question? I don't get it. Alcoholics Anonymous treatment type here again, please. Maybe. Okay, so I'm going to put the list of randomly generated items that I'm going to ask you to connect into the PEG system, okay? And I'll go through it systematically with you guys right here, okay? So this is the randomly generated new list of items. And I'm going to actually just put 1, 2, type it in here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, look, I know all of you are very honest folks and you're not cheaters. And so when I am asking you to review the list after we've pegged it, then I'm just going to ask you to be honest with yourself and, don't cheat or anything like that. Don't be like, haha, I got 10 out of 10 while you were reading it. It doesn't matter. There's no points here. It's just, this is on you. So, all right, I'm going to paste that in here. So that's the list again of all of the 10 items we're going to peg into the initial list, okay? So let me do something here real quick, and we're going to peg specific items. I'll give you an example of how we would do this. So if you look at number 1, it says locket. A locket being a little heart-shaped necklace that you open up. It's gold. It has a picture of your mom. It has a picture of your family. A locket. We all know what a locket is, right? So I'm not going to present pictures of those. You need to know what a locket is, or just take my word for it. It's a little gold pendant, okay? So maybe on the level of difficulty, maybe a little bit higher. It's not a horse. It's not a dollar bill, but it's a locket. So number one, locket. You're going to see in your mind's eye a big, huge golden locket with arms reaching out, grabbing a big tie, wrapping it around the heart shape, and then cinching it, but cinching it so hard, pulling the tie so hard that it actually starts to crush in the locket, squeezing everything and breaking the little bits of glass, okay? The more action-oriented, we're not really destroying anything. It's all just in your brain, okay? Your brain's not going to hurt you. So it's all just visual. And you can, the more control you have over this, you can replay and play back and erase and do all kinds of stuff you want. So there's no permanent damage to the locket, just so you know. And, as long as you just see it as a full locket, it's there. So number one, to tie, we're going to peg locket with it. And I want you to see in your mind's eye a locket wearing a tie and cinching it down so hard that it literally crushes the locket, and now it's walking around kind of like waddling around with this big blue tie, maybe going into the office to work, okay? Maybe it's holding a cup of coffee or something like that, right? So I want you to write a 5 in the chat if you, so far, just see in your mind's eye that visual story that I just told you, okay? Type a 5 in the chat if you can see in your mind's eye a golden locket with arms putting a tie on and cinching the tie down so tightly that it crushes the locket. Okay, we got a 5. Okay, good. So you're following. That's fantastic. That's awesome. All right, good. We got a 5 from Becky. Thank you guys so much again for being interactive. Like, if you want to get something out of this, be interactive, participate. I don't know how much you're going to get out of this by just, driving a car on the freeway and just listening to me, right? This is something that you probably want to be seated and participating. So I really appreciate everybody who's, here. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is I'm going to shift to position number 2. And we're going to peg that one, okay? So now you should see on your screen, one second. You should see on your screen the Noah's Ark, okay? So one second. Okay. Hold on. I need to shift something really quickly. Good. Okay. One second. I'm trying to populate my screen with too many things here, it seems. Okay, great. Good. Okay. All right, so number 2 is penguin. Okay, so the core peg item is Noah's Ark, and the item to remember is penguin. We all know what a penguin looks like. Little waddling penguin. I want you to see 2 pairs of penguins sitting on the deck of the Noah's Ark being jostled around. I want you to see that in your memory. See them sliding around, hitting the walls. They're not hurt or anything. We don't need to damage these penguins or anything like that. We can take care, but they're going to be rained on. They're wet. They're just like, what's going on? Whoa, this is wacky and crazy. And there's 2 penguins. Okay, got it? 2 of each animal. Yeah. Great. So 2 Noah penguin. Okay. Type a 6 in the chat. I'm not going to check in with every single one of these, but I just want to make sure that this next point, this number 2, that you feel like if Sterling were to ask me what 2 was, what was on Noah's Ark in this particular case, you feel confident maybe that you could potentially see an image of a penguin. Okay. So type a 6 in the chat if I've explained it enough that you can visually recall what I'm trying to get at, okay? 6. Okay, good. Okay, fantastic. Yay, awesome. I love you guys. Okay, that's fantastic. All right, so next one, we're going to go to lawnmower, okay? So lawnmower. The 3rd item to remember is sack. So that is a big burlap sack. So I want you to see in a big lawn, a big burlap sack full of rocks. And I want to see a lawnmower driving over the big burlap sack and ripping it up and seeing the burlap shreds flying out all over the place. And it's just now your green grass is now covered in a brown color. of a burlap bag, okay? And so that's a sack. You're going to say sack. Now, you might remember it as just burlap, and that could be also more or less correct. It depends on the context, right? If you have a grocery list and you think of, if it's milk or something, you'll be like, oh, I'm remembering some white liquid in a bottle. Oh, that might be milk. So whatever. It doesn't have to be the brand specific, but this is a sack. Okay, so 3 sack mo. Moving on. Next one, 4 row. Okay, 4 row is the core. The item to remember is rib. You have rib cage. You've got ribs. I want you to see. Basically, what I would encourage you to see is just one big oar. What they're holding in their hand, maybe that woman in the front with the yellow one, is an oar hitting accidentally one big floating rib cage floating in the water. Okay, like one big maybe they're not in a boat. Maybe they're all in a carved out rib, a human-sized rib that's like the size of a giant, and they're all rowing inside of this big rib. And there's one guy in the distance waving, "Hey, come back with my rib," like something like that. You want to have some action to it, okay? And remember, you may get some of these, you may miss some of these. That's okay. It's a way to improve, okay? If you don't get this all perfect, it's a notification to say to yourself, oh, maybe the way that I was integrating that memory wasn't visual enough. Maybe I was being too digital with it. I was just remembering words, and you weren't seeing the image. This is a diagnostic test for your vagus nerve, okay? So that's number 4. Number 5 is law, is the core, and the 5th item to remember is chocolate chip cookie. So 5, chocolate chip cookie. How do we integrate these, right? Get creative, get visual, get action-oriented. Maybe you see the cop is chasing down a perp. That is a chocolate chip cookie, a big 6-foot-tall chocolate chip cookie that's, as it's running, it's crumbling. And there's little bits of chocolate chip falling down, and the police officer's slipping on these big smeared bits of melted chocolate. But eventually he tackles the chocolate, and he holds it on the ground, and he pulls its arms behind it, and it handcuffs the chocolate chip cookie, okay? And the chocolate chip cookie's like, no, I didn't do nothing wrong, that kind of thing. So, you could see something like that, just a visual image, right? So now if I say in part 3 of this test, later on, I say, hey, what was number 5? 5, law. What was the police officer doing? And you'd be like, what was he doing? I'm getting the intuition, your vagal intuition, that it was a chocolate chip cookie. And then you say chocolate chip cookie, and I'd be like, you got it right. Hooray. And that's it. So that's 5. Going to number 6 for pegging the item. The 6th item is your core peg item, which you will never forget. This will always be with you from now and for forever. The number 6 will always be associated with Joy dish detergent, right? What a great brand position I've just given Joy detergent. I hope you don't go out and buy Joy dish detergent next time you're at the store just because of me. But it's my mom's preference for dish detergent. Anyway, so because her grandma used it, so there's a thing there. So anyway, the item to peg there is going to be a stapler. Stapler. So let's get creative. Let's get visual. Let's tell a story here. Let's get this memorized. So how we could do this is maybe you're in an office. You have a big stack of papers. You're stapling things together. But every time you click the stapler, a big gloob of Joy dish detergent spits out on the paper and just gets everything. It ruins every single document that you have. Every time you squeeze that stapler, you just see Joy dish detergent just spewing out and foaming, and you're just like, oh my God, the Joy dish detergent is everywhere. And then eventually you just reach out and grab a big dish detergent and you start smearing it all over a big stapler, and then the stapler says, hey, stop it. And it starts talking and it goes wah, 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 like that. So yeah, you have this kind of visual mnemonic memory peg. So in the future, if I ask you what was number 6 for today, you're going to go, okay, dish detergent, soapy. I'm feeling like I saw papers. I was in an office and somebody's holding like a stapler. And was it stapler? I'd be like, yeah, you got it. Hooray. Celebrate. So that's number 6. And remember, you will be tested. And you will not have to, if you did this right, you will not have to review the list in the future, where our alleged outcome here is that I'm going to ask you what was number 1, and you're going to go 1 tie, and you're going to see the tie wrapping around a locket with arms and squeezing and crushing the gold little locket, okay? So that's what's going to be the peg word. So 6, joy, stapler, okay? Moving on to key in a lock. So the core peg item is a stainless steel lock and key. And so the core item to remember is 7. The phonetic is ka. Every number 7 in any of the lists. So if you go to 17, it's 1 is ta, which is tie, but then a phonetic 1 ta, and then 7 ka, ki. If we look at number 17, just so you know, 17 on the list, we're not going there yet today, but 17 would be ta, ka, and the word is tack. And you would see a tack, on a board. So ka is the number 7 always. And so for just the number 7 by itself on the first list from 1 to 10 is key. So that is the core mnemonic for 7. The item we're going to remember today, just today, temporarily, is we're going to put the placeholder into key is hill, Hill. So a big, huge hill, rolling hills in the horizon, covered in green grass. What I want you to see here, if we're just being creative, now you may do it differently, but I'm just going to give you some example that might help. And this is based on my experience with this, is what would be fun is to see, if I'm driving through California and I look at those big rolling hills in Napa Valley, I see big cows. So what I want you to see instead are huge, humongous, 10-foot tall keys walking over the landscape and grazing. And when they stick their head down to eat grass, instead of eating grass, they stick their head into the soil and they go like that, and they unlock some of the soil, and then they get bigger. And so they just get bigger and bigger. And so I want to see like multiple, I want you to see 7 different keys on this huge green grass hill, a big, tall, perfect round hill. And I want you to see 7 big stainless steel animatronic keys sticking their head into the grass and going like that, okay? So in the future, if I ask you what's number 7, you go, okay, I see keys. Last time I saw this, my brain associates it with hills. The answer would be hill, and I'd say, you got it. Great. So moving on to the next one. Next item on the peg list is fee, okay? So looking at a really expensive bill of some sort, right? Kind of funny, kind of a very human reaction. You're like, holy cow, I didn't expect to see that. So the next one is going to be number 8, fee. Phonetic is is cheese. So the temporary item we're placing in position number 8 on top of the mnemonic peg item fee is cheese. Cheese. Number 8 is cheese. So what we're going to do is create a visual association with cheese and fee, being shocked by a really expensive thing. So maybe you're going to be in a cheese store and you're going to pick up a piece of cheese and you're going to check the charge for it, and you're going to go, oh my goodness, that is so expensive. And maybe it's brie cheese, and so the cheese is going to start melting in the hands of this person. Maybe you're looking at the receipt later, and smeared all over the big receipt with $1 million written on it is going to be melted brie cheese. And it's going to get all over your fingers, and you're going to be like, oh my God, what is this? You're going to be simultaneously shocked by the amount of cheese and cheese curds and crumbly cheese and yellow cheese and Swiss cheese that you're going to be just covered in cheese while you're just like, and on top of that, I can't believe how much this cheese is costing, and cheese is expensive. So you're going to have that association, okay? I'm sure somebody's jumping in is like, what in the heck is going on here? And I totally love you and appreciate you, and you are loved as a human being. And I hope you can get on board with what we're doing here. Replay will be available. So moving on to the next peg. Remember, this is a test of your vagus nerve. This is a diagnostic test. If nobody has told you yet that your vagus nerve interacts with your memory, they are doing you a huge disservice, okay? So next item, the peg word that is the core peg is pie. 9, p, with a P, pie. 9 is always pi. That will never change. But for right now, the temporary word we're placing in that spot is going to be dominoes, okay? So dominoes, those little dominoes, not Domino's Pizza, but dominoes as the little, fun board game or whatever, the table game you play. Lining up dominoes and flicking them over and they fall like that. So what I want you to do is now in your mind's eye is to peg these to make it more effective. Because look, if I just said 9 is pi and 9 is, and the item to remember in position 9 is dominoes, and I just said next, you would not remember that. You're going to remember it by having your vagus nerve activated in a parasympathetic cholinergic way to create a visual mnemonic association that's as visual, animated, and interactive and creative as possible. The stickier it is, literally and figuratively, the more you're more likely you are to be able to remember it in in the future. Okay. So let's get creative. So dominoes. I want you to see a really big fresh pie sitting out on a table with the smoke, the fresh mist coming off of it or whatever, the steam. And then I want to see a little baby kid taking white dominoes with those little black dots on it and literally setting the dominoes into the pie and like into the goo, not just on top. So they're sticking it in so it goes and it gets sucked in halfway. And the kid doesn't know better, so he's going to set these up side by side all around inside of the pie. And then at the end, once he's done, 9 of these dominoes, he's going to try and flick it, and it's going to go and like very gooey and just almost like it's like quicksand. The pie is going to absorb the dominoes, and then the kid's going to try and reach out and grab the dominoes out, but it's going to get gooey, blueberry pie all over the place, and it's just going to get messy. And we've all had that experience with a kid doing something like that. So 9 pi is the core peg word. You're never going to forget pi, but right now temporarily we're going to place dominoes into that pie. And when I ask you later in about 5 minutes what was number 9, you're going to think, what was happening with a pie? I'm seeing a kid and there was something he was putting in it. They looked like dominoes. Was it dominoes? And I'm going to go, you got it. Hooray. You got number 9 correct. So that's number 9. Now moving on to the very next and last of the peg. The core peg here is toes. So number 10, how fortunate that we usually have 10 toes or more, but most people have 10. 10 toes. The core item for the mnemonic peg word, as Sterling Cooley is giving it to you from the Vagus Nerve Stimulation and Repair Program Phase 2, is toes. 10 toes. 10 comprising of 2 digits. The first digit of 10 is 1. So number 1 is always going to have the phonetic system of t. 1, t. And then 1 by itself is tie. So if you had 1 by itself, it would be tie. But if you have a 1 and a 0, that represents 10. And the phonetics for 0 is s. So we had to go and find what was a word that you can say that has a visual item that could match the phonetic demand of t and s. And what we came up with in our program is t, s, number 10, o. Toes. 10 toes. Is that easy to remember? Type a 7 in the chat if that makes sense to you, if you can see that there's kind of a buildable logic. And you can now kind of start to see how we might be able to go, what would number 11 be? Okay, 1 t and 1 t. And so for that one, I'll tell you that later. I'm not going to confuse you, but we can build up to 100 actually using that phonetic core system, okay? So 7 in the chat if that makes sense. But right now, we're going to peg a new temporary word or item to the core peg item of 10 toes, okay? So get your visual mind ready. The 10th temporary item you need to remember right now today is gym. Gym. Not the guy named Jim, but a gym, a physical gym, GYM, that you go into and you lift weights, okay? So let's get creative here. So first I want you to start with the visual representation of these 10 little baby toes. And then I want you to see each of these toes wearing exercise gloves. And I want you to see each one of these toes as if it's its own little hand reaching out and grabbing a big iron, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and grabbing these weights and lifting weights and seeing almost like these toes developing muscles. And I want you to see on the pad of these feet 6-pack abs, okay? And I want you to see this in a gym and wearing maybe see the toes wearing like a headband on the big toe and like really lifting weights and like maybe taking a sports drink or something like that. So that in the future you give yourself the best chance to remember that number 10. If you go 10 toes, I see this like I'm getting this weird image of like this pair of baby toes wearing those fingerless gloves and like a tank top with cut off with the sleeves cut off, wearing a headband with a Walkman in its ears, lifting weights. I just see this connection. It's just wild. And it's kind of like in a gym, like in this big square gym with like plates and lifting and all the equipment. And you might be like, was number 10 a gym? And I go, you got it. You did it. Number 10. The temporary word we were trying to remember was gym. Okay? Awesome. All right. So that right now wraps up. I see a lot of 7s in the chat. That's fantastic. So you're following along. I feel like out of all the times that I've ever done this with people, this will have been in my entire life the most clear-cut guide on exactly how to create a 10-point peg list. Okay? And just to reiterate, not like I have to, this is utilizing your vagus nerve system. If it's difficult for you to even feel or get a sense for what I'm saying, then let's talk. You may have a really severe vagus nerve issue, and it may be an early sign of potential neurodegeneration. Okay? And can we fix that through vagus nerve stimulation? Hell yes. And so keep that in mind that we do have ways to fix this, okay, and make this better and improve it. Even at any age, if you're even 60, 70, 80 years old, we can fix this, okay? So now what I want you to do is don't look at any of the things that you have written in the past, okay? What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to first say the number 1, and then on paper or ideally in the chat without looking, well, maybe not in the chat because I don't want other people giving it away first, okay? I'm just going to have you write on a piece of paper by yourself without looking at the temporary list of 10 words. I want you to write down with my prompting what the temporary remembered words were supposed to be. Remember, we're going to start by the first place you need to go is start by going to the thing that was number 1. 1 tie. Okay? So get a piece of paper out or get some way of writing this down, okay? I want you to test yourself. This is about you being a good auditor of your ability here, right? This is honest assessment. Okay? I'm going to switch the position on the screen to number 1 so you can see what that visual is and if that helps prompt you to remember it. Here we're looking for wins. I'm not trying to, none of this is about like proving you wrong or making you feel like inadequate or anything like that. This is built for your success, but I still need your participation to do this, okay? So please, by now, have some way to write this down. You do not want to miss out on this. You're going to see how cool this is. So, first item, and I'm not going to say the answers. I'm not going to say the answers right now. I'm going to just ask you to write it down, and then I'm going to give you the answers, and then you're going to write how many out of 10 did you get correct, and you're going to be surprised at how well you do. So, first thing, 1 tie. What was interacting with the tie based on the temporary item we placed there? Not based on any examples I gave today, but the exact specific one I gave you today. And I said, this is the one to remember, okay? Okay, so write that down, 1, and then you don't have to write tie on the paper. You need to write the temporary item that was, the one that we're remembering today, okay? Got it. So write 1, and then write the item. Next one, 2, Noah's Ark. What was on Noah's Ark. What were the things on this temporary list, from the temporary list, not the core item, what was on position number 2? What was on position number 2? What was on Noah's Ark? Okay, write that down. Great. Next one. 3. Okay. 3, mow. What was being mowed? I gave some visual examples of something getting cut up in position 3. Mow being our core peg item that we'll never forget. You're always going to have mow in there. But what was the temporary item we placed into number 3? What was the item in position number 3 today? What was getting cut up? What was getting sprayed all over the lawn? Good. Okay, write that down. Next one. 4, row. 4, row being the core peg that's never going to change. What was the temporary item that we used in position number 4? What was there? What was happening? Was there somebody waving in the distance saying, hey, come back with my what? Remember? Okay, good. Number 5, law. We made a very visual image, right? Law, police officer chasing after something falling on the ground, him slipping on it, and then arresting it, okay? What was that? What was the item? Write that down, okay? I'm not going to give you the answers, but this is, remember, a test of your memory. So, next one. Joy. 6, joy. 6, joy. Dish detergent. Soapy, right? Boom. Okay? So, what was the item? Where were we? Were there, maybe some papers involved? There was some item that would be one word. What was the what was the temporary item we wanted to place in the core permanent place of 6? Okay? Joy being the mnemonic visual storage location of an interaction peg. What was the temporary item we placed in position number 6? Think about it. What was spewing out of this item? What was creating soap? What was it? What was being what item were we pouring joy dish detergent all over and just completely destroying? Okay, what was talking? All right, so next one. 7, key. So 7, key is the core mnemonic. What was going on in this scene? Right? What was the interaction? What were we seeing? Were there 7 of them? Where they, had that same motion of the key sticking into something and then rotating, locking, unlocking, okay? You should see that visually in your mind. You should be writing down on paper 7, and then you should be writing one word next to that 7, and that would be the passive item. I'm not asking you to write key on paper. I'm asking you to write the temporary item, okay? Next one, 8, fee. What was the temporary item we placed into position number 8? Okay, what was on the receipt? What was smeared all over the $1 million? Oh my goodness, this is the most expensive thing I've ever purchased in my life. I can't believe it. This fee shock, sticker shock. What was on there? What was being purchased? What place were you in? What was the item? It's one word. You should write 8 and then have a word written next to it that's not fee, but it should be a temporary item that we said. Okay, next one. 9, pi. 9, pi being the core mnemonic peg. What was the item being interacted with number 9? Okay. What was gooey? What was being stuck into it? What was being taken out? What was getting all messy? Okay, what was the specific item? You should see it in your mind's eye right now. You should have this is an innate, distinct ability that you all have. This is why people get traumatized, is because they lack the ability to actually interact with their own brain. People get traumatized because they have zero control over innate processes that are working in the background, and we're literally peeling back the layers and showing you what's going on here exactly. And some of you are having an aha moment as to how this all works, right? Okay, next one. You should have 9 written down already. Number 10. Let's see it. So number 10, toes. Okay, Okay, getting here to the end, so hang in there with me. 10 toes. What was the item or what was the thing that we interacted with these 10 toes temporarily? I'm not asking you to remember this permanently, but 10 toes is what you want to remember forever. But what was the temporary today only item that I asked you to remember visually speaking? Okay, so were the toes wearing something? Where were they? Were they lifting something? Was something happening? Where was that item? Where was that location? Okay, what was the thing you were supposed to remember? Visually speaking, you might be like, these 10 toes, I feel like there was a headband involved. They were like fingerless gloves. They were lifting weights. It was in some, where do people go to lift weights? Oh, man. And if you're not getting it, then, let's have you practice this more. You'll get it. And let's get your you need your vagus nerve stimulated if you can't remember that. So, but it's nothing against you. It's just, it is what it is. Okay, great. So now I'm going to take us off the specific scene view and I'm going to come back here. So I'm back. Hello, everybody. All right. So what I want you to do is I'm just going to go through the list. I'm going to have you just put a check mark next to from 1 to 10 with the temporary items listed. And I'm just going to have you do a check and just add up. How many did you get right? That's all I want you to focus on. Not how many you got wrong, but how many you got right. And then we're going to do a quick review. We're literally building a brain improvement system right here in real time. Okay? Not like I haven't built this already. This is me helping you build it for yourself. So number 1 was locket. Number 2 was penguin. Number 3 was sack. Number 4 was rib. Number 5 was chocolate chip cookie. Number 6 was stapler. Number 7 was hill. Number 8 was cheese. Number 9 was dominoes. And number 10 was gym. Okay? So you should just go back, have gone through there and be like, great, I got those right. So now in the chat, I want you to type the number of ones that you got correct and then / out of 10. So if you got 10 out of 10, I want you to write 10 out of 10. If you got 5 out of 10, I want you to write 5/10. If you only got 1, which I doubt if you use this properly, none of you should have gotten just 1 out of 10 unless you followed the instructions completely incorrectly. Then I want you to write whatever number you got correct out of 10 in the chat. We got a 10 right here in the chat. Becky, so proud of you. You got 10 out of 10. Chelsea, 5 out of 5 because she arrived late. That's totally fine. That's a 100% accuracy and recall rate. Susan, a 10 out of 10. Freaking fantastic. Are we seeing this, guys? This is incredible. So Becky says your visuals were awesome, right? That's the way your memory works. This is why people get traumatized. This is why they go through therapies, right? Joan, she got 6 out of 10. Totally okay. She had distraction and loud noises. Okay? And that's totally okay. So this is the thing. Things become memorable when they are at this core focus in your mind. If there's distractions, then that is part of the integration process, right? And so that's all to say that this is a way of testing the environment in a sense and why things get remembered and why things don't. There's nothing to feel bad about at all. No shame, no guilt here at all. I'm so proud of you that you got what you got. Probably you would have gotten less had you not even implemented the systems, right? I mean, if you were in a loud, noisy, distracted environment, can you share, having not used this system, I would estimate you might have gotten 1 or 2, right? If you're just trying to remember this with noise, in a distracting environment, you still got that many. That's awesome. We got another one, 10 out of 10. She says, I've been working on my vagus nerve. I can tell. You might even be good at 25 of these. We could do a 25 at some point in time and see how well you got to 25 of these peg words, which is really incredible. And again, I've seen people go, in our program in phase 1, we literally go all the way up to 100, okay? But that's phase 2 work, and you would be shocked at how accurate you're able to be. And then once you get that, you are no longer under the spell of the other people who have implanted and embedded these memories in your brain, right? He who is the most creative at mastering mnemonics wins out in life. Just really take that in. Those who have mastered the mnemonic peg process on a core level literally own the world. Branding, marketing, sales, the reason you buy certain things, the reason commercials are the way they are, watch a commercial next time and see what they're doing to make you have brand allegiance, okay? And maybe not right now, but just tentatively, abstractly, think about a memory that comes up for you often that is funny or sexy or romantic or beautiful or transcendent or spiritual, and think about what are some of the aspects of why those things become memorable in your mind, okay? Very powerful. If you're doing the hour of power every morning, you're going to start getting a better sense of this and mastering this so that you're the master of this. I want you to be the master of your vagus nerve. I want you to be the master of your mind, of your memory. And you do that with some really relatively simple processes. Was it maybe a little bit of work to learn this? Did it take your focus and attention? Yeah, of course. But I just revealed to you something that works behind the scenes. This is basically saying this is how the world works, all right? And then you can also say abstractly right now that, I wonder if the reason my body, my immune system, keeps on being re-triggered by my environment to feel sick and depressed and anxious is that maybe there's something that's mnemonically being triggered about my environment or about words or certain things that's actually replaying that. And because I didn't know the mechanisms of how this worked, I just thought it was because, I had trauma demons living in my body. But now I really see that there's a memory process here. And could it be possible, if you were resourced enough, to actually go back and actually start modifying these memories, changing their color, right? The reason you were able to remember, many of you, 10 out of 10, is because of how creative I was and how, I'm just sharing words with you. It was you that saw them in your head. I'm just helping you access an innate ability that you have. I didn't do anything magic. I'm just revealing how your brain works, how your vagus nerve works, right? Like when you think of a pie, vagus nerve, it's part of food. You have a visual mnemonic memory for food too, and color, and it's all part of your vagus nerve. You're going to start developing emotional triggers. If you want to get the more and more you master the system, you're going to hear number 9, pie, and you're going to go, yummy, pie, delicious, juicy. You're going to maybe start, your mouth is going to start watering. And the better you get at accessing your vagus nerve, the better your memory is going to get. How wild is that? And then when you see toes, every time I see toes, I just think, oh my God, these so beautiful little toes, this perfect, beautiful life. I have this emotional connection to seeing this. I think it's beautiful. And it reminds me how much I want my own children, and just what a gift, what a joy it is to just this precious life. And so all that's incorporated, it's all wrapped up in there. And you bet your butt that when I need to remember what number 10 is, which was gym, that it's just going to be zoop, immediate. So the better you get at this emotional connection between these things, the visual, the visceral, the color, the closeness, the better you see it in full awareness, as if you're wearing a pair of virtual reality goggles. A part of phase 2 training is that people, if they want to, they can opt in for our VR headset. We have a vagus nerve virtual reality headset that gets sent preloaded with the training for this. So that if you're I have a hard time visualizing it from the screen, we have a VR process and we have multiple different layers of that. And so it just makes it as simple as possible for people. And that's how you get to 100, right? There's a way to get to 100, and 100 is good. You want 100. We also use this system to help people go to sleep. I would post in the chat, maybe I'll post it later, just the kind of results we've been getting from clients in phase 2, phase 1, who are using the mnemonic process to review the all 100. And because it engages your parasympathetic system, it relaxes you. It takes you deep, 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 deep. It's amazing. This is just really cool stuff. So I'm super stoked to have shared all this with everybody. most likely what we're going to do is next week to return to this. And we're going to just go from like minute number 1, from like probably at the 10-minute mark next Friday. I'm just going to give you the list. I'm not going to review it. And I want to see how you were able to remember not just the new words, but the PEG system. We're going to take it up a notch, okay? Just for fun. No challenge here, just a fun opportunity. I mean, I think if you all did it, you're all probably really impressed, right? Rose is like, I'll settle for 98 words. That's totally fair, right? 98 out of 100 is pretty darn good. What most people are able to remember without this system, if I just gave them the same 10 words and I said, hey, I want you to remember these 10, just use whatever system you innately have, probably not visual, probably not mnemonic, just rote memory. They might get 4 or 5 and have a really hard time with just those. But we got people who are doing 10 out of 10 out of this list. So that's pretty amazing. And again, when you do 25 or you do 50 or 75 or 100, and we gradually go up, you're going to be at 100 and you get this mastery. It's so incredible. I can only really just assure you that like the phase 2 kind of work is like, wow, it's just incredible. So anyway, but yeah, want to just read a comment. I am shocked by the creativity that you have to create the engaging visuals. I struggle with that level of creativity. That's a vagal nerve thing. When you start stimulating a vagus nerve, when your vagus nerve is operating properly, you are very creative. You notice artists are very calm, relaxed. They're in flow. That is a result of a vagus nerve process. That's parasympathetic. That is a parasympathetic process, right? And so Rose, I want to just recall how to review this, right? So if you didn't get all of them or if you struggled with them, just notice, the thing to notice is what were you lacking in integration? So when you were seeing it, maybe it wasn't as colorful. Maybe you were kind of like not taking it to the full degree. Maybe you weren't being as wild or wacky, right? Maybe you just saw, again, just like a kid lazily placing dominoes on a pie, and they just didn't, the dominoes didn't get sticky enough. There wasn't just this, I want you to like feel sticky. Like, what's the sensation of stickiness and gooiness and sweetness, right? Get all of these things involved in this process. And then you'll have really good memory. And so you do it once and you go, okay, we did it. Awesome, whatever. And I'm sure that if I asked you again, what was number 1 right now, just out of your mind, what was number 1? Tie. What was being wrapped around the item, the tie? What was the item? If you said locket, you got it. What was number 9, right? When on the temporary list, what was going into the pie? Think about it. It's sticky. Dominoes. Great. What was number 8? Fee, right? What was number 8? Fee. Okay, I'll post the list of the things to be remembered here. So that's the list of things to be remembered, so you can check it. And let's see. So number 8, fee. So fee being this shocking. So Rose, you said you had a difficult time with fee. I'll play the video again, and I want you to see this like really crystal clear in your mind's eye. So I'm just gonna skip over to 8 fee and play the video. So Rose, full attention. Everybody else, let's amplify fee. I want you to see this very clearly. I'll play it a couple times. This kid's pulling out this thing. Oh my gosh. He's got these bills in front of him. He's just like, oh my gosh. Wow. God, how terrible. He's just like, I got to get the money out. Play it again. So when you see fee, 8 fee, just see this image just replaying. Now, the PEG, the item to remember is cheese for today. The temporary item, not next week, but today, is cheese. So how could you throw some cheese into this scene? Take crumbly cheese, start throwing gorgonzola all over this kid. See some of the gorgonzola flakes getting in his mouth, in his lips, in his nose, in his eyes, crusting over his eyelids, being covered in cheese, right? See a big thing of like melted cheese pouring all over his receipts, and now he can't even read it. He can't even see the number of where to send it, right? So just amplify that. And the better you do the testing, the more you will remember it in the future. By doing the testing, by actually looking at this, you get tremendously better at it too. Okay, so I'm going to go back to me. But yeah, this is very cool. Yeah. And so Rose, with fees, have a visceral reaction. Involve your emotions. This is again why you can see when we talk about when your vagus nerve is inactive, you lack emotional awareness. When your vagus nerve is active, then you have emotions. But if you don't have the training of where to plug these emotions into, then you start developing deficits, and that's where you start going back on the neural pathways of trauma and all these kinds of things. So you can start to see how all this kind of how all this relates. So, but yeah, that's the list. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up there today too. So it's not like we don't need a multi-hour long video for this. This is it. Come back again on next Monday, same time, same place. We're going to be doing this type of content. If you like this kind of content and you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and you like. We're trying to grow our YouTube channel. Small beginnings lead to greater things. Our Facebook group now has just hit 20,000 members, and we started with 18 people, 18 clients, 18 core clients using our protocol to stimulate their vagus nerve. Started from just 18 of our core clients, and I said, you know what? This group has got to open up to the general public. We made it a semi-public, semi-private. You have to request to join. Link in our YouTube channel if you want to join the Facebook group. I would highly recommend it. Is it going to change your life? Guaranteed. Your life is going to change. Also, who's been doing their hour of power on their headset? I know a lot of you now have received these already. I did this morning right before a call. We just onboarded a new awesome person. And so, yeah, I did this before that, and it was a great call. So awesome. Thank you. Super fun. Sorry, I don't know what you're asking me to say again. I said a lot of stuff. Rose, when did you hit 20,000? Just this week. We hit 20,000 just this week. We got Susan. I have done it 2 days now, and I love it. Awesome. I got my headset today. Awesome. You are going to flip out when you're all doing it. And just so people are like, what is this? Because, with this group, we got people joining all the time. And, it's just crazy how I just like to share the links to stuff. So I'm going to share the link to the Hour of Power. That is how you engage your parasympathetic state every single day through another means. It's not what we just shared. It's a different process. We're multimodal. If anybody ever accuses me of sharing just one specific thing, I'm just going to be like, you are really selling me short, and I don't appreciate that. As a Leo, as a dragon in Chinese, astrology, I don't take kind to you trying to peg me as some kind of a limited creature. I'm a multimodal creature. You will be shocked at what we're able to do with people. If you really want to come on board and see what we got a great program. And so our calendar is unfortunately very packed. So it's going to be probably difficult for you to get a one-to-one call with me these days. But I would at least have you explore that as an option. Link will be in the YouTube video as well. So that wraps it up for today. Super grateful to have all of you here. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and all of that jazz. I'm going to end the YouTube video stream right now, and thanks everybody for watching.